Let me refresh my timeline. Of course, Lucky decided to retweet 30,000 things right as you hit send on the tweet. Let me just search up your account. Literally, immediately, just like 4 or 5 retweets from Lilac, or not from Lilac, from Lucky. Smashy Bros. And did I link? Let's pull up the actual stream itself so I can link it properly. Let me not listen to myself talk. There we go. All right, cool. All right, plugs are done. There we go. Okay, I just got confirmation from Icona. He will be there. All right, cool. Yeah, so am I. Hello. I'm Excelsior, caster aficionado. I talk about this game a lot. Sorry.
All right. Turns out I was muted that whole time. That's awesome. Good production on my part. Thank you, Shatter, for Alphon, for letting me know about that.
Thank you, Pantson. Thank you, Pantson.
Yeah. Anyway, we're into it. Revel Gear 5. I've been working on this event for the past few months, celebrating 5 years of me TOing. My local series. Really happy with the overall hype around the event that people have generated for it, between not just Michigan but Chicago and Indiana as well. So again, just thank you to everyone who's coming out and showing support for the event, including everyone in this top 32. Which we're gonna get right into it, but the enemy before that, we can do a quick overview of the top 32, talking about just anyone that you think is maybe a little underseeded, maybe someone that you think will perform better than expected, just off initial impressions. Excelsior.
Looking at this just based off of what I'm seeing here, obviously I'm Chicago native, so I'm always going to be a little partial to my Chicago friends. But I do think that someone like Icona and Lightning are super susceptible to making upsets. The two of them have been doing really, really well recently, especially Icona. He just beat Raven King not that long ago. I think it was on Monday. Icona took a set over Raven King. He has been climbing and just getting so much better with Sheik these last couple of months. So I think Icona, if there's anybody who's going to make some massive upsets, I think Icona is definitely on that list.
Yeah, I saw that he got top 8 at the 60-person local on Monday, which was that local was really huge.
That's just kind of how Chicago locals go in the summertime. Chicago locals will blow up, but yeah, that's the one he got the win on Raven King for at. So I do think that I think Icon is definitely one of them that you can't sleep on. Lightning, again, for sure. Are the two of them are always very, very susceptible to that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think my perspective going into the event that upsets are going to be inevitable, and I'm all about the chaos, so I'm ready for the chaos to ensue. If I have to pick out a single Michigan person, I low-key think that it's gonna sound biased because he's my boy, but Defoe he's like the wild card to me because he competes super frequently. But when he does, he usually does it really well. At his last two events, granted they were 6 months apart, so he got second at both of them.
Right.
And they were both regionals. And his path is pretty decent. Because he has to play against, and we'll get into it. But his path is pretty decent. But I think skill level wise, he's among these top 8 players. But he just doesn't have enough results.
I remember, was Defoe at the last Revel and Roll?
He was not at Dissension. He was not
Dissension, that's what he was at.
No, he wasn't at Dissension 2 because he had personal stuff going on at the time.
Yeah. But yeah, that Dissension, I remember seeing him make the just insane player. I know that he is. Shulk in general is just like kind of hard to deal with. Just in general, right? Because there's so few of them, but Defoe is definitely one of the main ones that whenever I see him on stream, it's like, oh yeah, no, this is still a character that exists that you have to you have to be on top of, and Defoe is definitely one of those players who can just go for it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. He's always capable of taking the bracket further than maybe he's predicted to. But yeah, I think the other thing I want to talk about is that I think Indiana is like a little bit of a sleeper here. I want to give them a quick shout out because obviously they have Beans, who's a top 2 seed of the event, and he's predicted to do well. But Loafer got top 8 at Dissension, which was the last Michigan regional he was at, and then even Dr. Stank, who last year got 9th at Revel 200. So I think Indiana will do better than some people were expecting. So
Indiana, just in general, just like. They have a tendency to low-key sleeper pull up to brackets and whatnot. BB Beans pulled up to a couple scrims in Chicago when that was still going and just ran through RPR. So it's not a massive upset, but we could see a universe where BB Beans does take the tournament over Atata in grands. That's not out of the question. But Indiana is always you can't sleep on them too hard. Also, just ignore Modem Lilac. Just ignore him. You don't have to. We don't have to acknowledge anything he says here.
I think over one power can take it over Ecrofire and then possibly B-Beans. The last set was pretty close. Yeah, that whole quadrant is very interesting to me. We'll get to it, but yeah. But I think we're good to transition into the pools now. If you are Excelsior.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, we're gonna start off with A1, which funnily enough is the BB Beans pool. So I guess we're gonna talk about it now.
Yeah, this is let me put up on my end as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting matches here to me. The probably the funniest one is I don't know if you noticed, but there's 4 Nest players in the top 32, and
I did notice that.
And it's kind of inevitable that they're going to play with each other in this first. And we have Echo Fire versus TM4, which we'll see how that goes. But
4 Nesses, only 1 Steve. # noticing. Just want to throw that out
Ness
there.
is secretly overpowered? ?
But no, this first pool is pretty decent. I'm not. There's a lot of players here, so I'm only seeing a couple names that I recognize. I do want to say. I'm always going to have a little bit of bias here. In our first pool is Teddy. I am driving him. I'm traveling with him up there. Teddy has always been one of those kind of gatekeepers in Chicago. Very, very solid player on Lucina. Definitely someone that I personally will look out for at all times because he is always capable of making the upset and just exciting sets to watch, especially with Lucina in the meta that we have. It's so refreshing.
Yeah, I was a little confused. Is Teddy is that formerly Finroll, or are they 2 different people? Because that's what
Teddy and Finroll are 2 different people.
Okay, because I know Finroll also plays Lucina and is from Chicago, and I didn't know if they were different people or not. But
Finral. When is the last time Finral played Lucina? Finral's been mostly. He's been switching over to Peach Daisy recently.
Okay.
But he plays Zelda, Link. If he has a Lucina, I've never seen it.
Okay, so
I don't remember the last time he played a Lucina.
All right, that's just me being ignorant, and my apologies to Teddy and Finral.
No, you're good.
But yeah, the person he's switching to play in advanced placement, who's a Michigan Terry player, who's been on the come up, I would say, like getting top 16 at a couple of regionals here and there. So.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how that goes, and then the winner of that has to play against Beans, which we'll see. I think Beans has like low key gotten some unfavorable matchups in his pool because Pac-Man can kind of struggle against like these characters that have really good high damaging moves that can quickly spot away Hydrant, like Terry, like F tilt or or the Lucina like back air, and then he has against like the Palutena Druish here, which Palu back air is so good against Hydrant and Pac-Man in general.
And that's kind of the cost of like if you're a top seed, right? Like there's got to be some trade off somewhere. So I think giving BB Beans more of a challenge on his way up there is definitely is definitely going to be interesting, especially when it comes to like bracket stamina, right? If we have a lot of these like not necessarily bad matchups, but slightly more unfavorable matchups, how is that going to feel once you have to start playing against the top seeds and whatnot? Mm-hmm. So that's always. That's always an interesting factor when it comes to these top 8 tournaments and whatnot.
Yeah, I think Beans does get a lot of Palu practice from, I believe, Magzier, the Indiana Palu. They go to the same locals, but I think Druish is like a higher caliber player, obviously. But
yeah,
so we'll see how it goes. And also, like Lightning just might be Druish anyway. So
this is true. Lightning. It's so funny because Lightning. He is very, very good at, like, almost on a dime, switching from, I'm going to stay back, I'm going to camp you out, I'm not going to interact with you, which he is very, very solid at. But then also, his kill confirms are genuinely, like breathtaking sometimes. Like I have seen him clutch out kill confirms with, like, 2-3 seconds on the clock at percents that you didn't even know were possible. So, like, I do know that matchup doesn't sound the best. That sounds like a rough matchup just in general, but I mean, if anyone could do it, Lightning is definitely one of the contenders for it, you know what I mean?
Lightning also typically does pretty well when he travels to Michigan, so I'm not going to count him out. I think like I said, I think this set can go either way, and then the TM4 Echo Fire set, I'm just kind of here for like just the spectacle of it. I think that'll just be a funny set. And then 1 Power Zuri is interesting, and then also 1 Power Echo Fire is also interesting, because obviously Chicago has a really good Ness and Bayonetta main, but I'm not too sure how 1 Power typically does into Shelter and Atata. I think he doesn't do well in either, if I remember correctly, but
I can pull up both set records if you give me just a second. That is something I don't know off the top of my head, but I mean, when it comes to like knowing the Bayo or the Ness matchup, like look no further than Chicago, right? Shelter, if only Shelter traveled, Mm-hmm. he would be a lot. I think a lot harder to. He would be a lot harder to count out, right? But he's a very, very solid player in his own right. You've already got it pulled up. Look at you.
Yeah.
Much fast.
I mean, I'm just pulling. I also want to pull it up just so that like the stream can see what I'm trying to find. Why did I type that in? Shelter. All right, so 7-7 against Shelter, and
he is currently 7-7 on Shelter, right? So like very. It could go either way with it, especially because I think 1 Power is one of those players that, like, the thing that is the most interesting to me is just the way that he goes about playing neutral. Like, just super, super solid neutral state. He can switch it on a dime. I've watched him be down, like, full stocks, and all of a sudden he, on a dime, switches to just playing just hard neutral and just really solid call-outs to full-on change the tide. So definitely could go either way with that, though. I mean, he's got some pretty decent practice in the matchup. But if we want to talk about the 1 Power versus Ness in general. He's currently 0-21 on Atata.
Yeah.
So that feels like that might be one of those things where it could just be the Atata difference, right? Which we'll get to the Atata difference, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But that's also one of those ones where it's like I feel like with a character so small and a little bit slippery, I do think that Wolf can kind of have a hard time against stuff like that, especially with such a powerful projectile and edge guarding and
Yeah.
Wolf's your 9 to 5 character.
Yeah.
So
I think it's overall just a very interesting path for like this whole quadrant's very interesting to me. I really like it.
Yeah.
But I think like realistically, I think any of these 3, maybe 4 could come out. I will say something interesting. Zuri has an undefeated record against Echo Fire, so I think Zuri is like the low key candidate here. It's like the low, maybe like under the radar to get on winner's side in this quadrant, just because of how good his record is against Echo Fire.
Yeah, the couple of times that I've come out there, Zuri has always been very impressive. Just like I think that is another play. Again, all of these players in this top 32 are players that you just cannot count out like at any point in time. And it's crazy just how early we could see upsets happen in this bracket.
Like for context, Team 4 is the former Indiana #1. Now he hasn't been #1 for quite a few years, but just like for context, like he was that guy in Indiana for a while, and now in this bracket he's the 26th seed, which just goes to show how stacked it is. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's late game ult is so cutthroat. It is very unforgiving. So these players that can be consistent are not just players that are like consistently good, but even players that are in that middling level can just run away with one really good upset. So.
Do you want to do predictions, like who you think makes it on winner's side? We don't have to do losers, but if not,
top 8.
No, it's like a winner is like in these pools.
Just in these pools.
Yeah, we don't have to do loser side. I'm just curious if you want to do predictions or not. If you want to like leave it ambiguous, then that's also fine. But
I think it's safe to say that BB Beans will make winners. Obviously, right? Like that's a pretty surefire one. But I do think that second winner spot into top 24 could be any one of One Power, Echo Fire, or Zuri. It could be any one of them.
I agree.
Just like if One Power ends up taking it over Zuri, which is the current prediction, I believe, right? Like I think that could go either way. I think that if Zuri takes it over One Power, though, if Zuri has that, what you said, 0-8 against Echo Fire,
it's pretty favorable. I'll look it up right now just so the chat can see.
Right, it could very easily go to Zuri. You know, any one of the 3 of them could take that second spot. Zuri is Bayo Monum.
Yeah, they're like a former Michigan PR player. They're pretty good. Also, Echo Fire is not.
Yeah. Echo Fire's current tag is, what is it?
Okay, so Zuri is 2-0 in Echo Fire lifetime. So.
Okay.
They have not played as much as I thought, but still undefeated against Echo Fire.
Okay, that still could go either way, and it's so interesting that like this if you look like the seeding difference, right? Like it's very.
Yeah, Zuri is a little lower in the top 24 because he has not been competing as much recently. But he's getting a little bit more back into it lately. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's super fair.
I think we're good to call on A1 though. Let's move on to A2.
Yeah, we can move to A2. Let's see, who all is in this pool?
This is the suspect pool.
Is that me?
Oh,
that is the suspect pool.
This is the Excelsior pool, excuse me.
This is a fun bracket for me, but we're not going to get into that. We've got Suspect. Now, I do want to point out already, like, one of the first things I want to point out is as much shit as I like to give him, Monum did beat Suspect the last time they played.
Yeah.
Right? That is not out of the question.
Yeah, I think what caught my eye about that set in particular was Suspect played Wolf into One Power. Not One Power, Monum, sorry.
Into Monum.
Yeah. So, I don't know if he's...
Which is crazy because I know that Monum hates that matchup. Monum hates that. That is one of the matchups he complains about the most. He hates that character. But he plays against one power a lot, not just in bracket, but just like in general, right? Those two are very close. So if we could see the wolf come out, I know that Suspect has a deep pockets, right? Like, so I would not be surprised if we saw any of Suspect's characters come out there.
Yeah.
But that is very possible. Immediately into top 24, we could see a really big upset there with Monum over Suspect.
Yeah, Suspect's always just like the thing about Suspect is that you got to get him early in bracket, because if he warms up, if you give him the chance to warm up, he won't cool down. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, the Suspect, I could see him playing Kazuya, I could see him playing Rob, I could see him playing Korin. Maybe in a Monum, maybe we'll see the Rob, but that sounds like how maybe he would counter pick, but.
Yeah, I don't know. He could pull out Ridley. Like, he won't pull out Ridley, but he can pull out Ridley or Banjo or Wolf or whatever other character he's feeling that day, and he's very proficient in quite a few of them. So I would not. That's going to be an interesting set to watch, regardless.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
And then Monum also has to play against Callie, who is the best Michigan Yoshi player right now. That matchup on paper does not sound great for Yoshi, and I don't think they've played before, so I don't know how much to go off for it, but I just wanted to call it out. So.
Yeah, that's also true. I'm curious. That matchup doesn't sound great for either party, actually. That sounds very annoying for both of them.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that one goes. And then on the other part of this quadrant is the Verdatious half, and this just feels like a pretty safe Verdatious gets it out, because he is playing against Luigi and then Mario or Sheik, with Nad and Icona.
Let me look up Icona and Red's current set record. I don't remember what their current record is, but I know that Icona, like I said before, Icona is like number one guy to make upsets. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that there's any. I don't think that if Icona is playing at his best, I genuinely don't think there's anyone he can't beat. So like I think that is very interesting if we would get that so early. And mind you already said it, but you tried your absolute best to make sure that Chicago wasn't playing each other as often as possible.
Yeah.
But we see, immediately, right? We see that it is hard to make sure that stays that way, because one upset is all it would take in order for Chicago to have to play each other immediately out of
for a top 24 qualifier.
Right? Because if Monum, so if Monum makes the upset over Suspect, then that's Red Monum in top 24. If Icona makes the upset into Red, right, then that's a top 24 qualifier.
Yeah.
So it just goes. Chicago is powerful, and there's a lot of us. We like to travel these days.
Yeah, this is maybe the largest Chicago invasion I can remember from Michigan, which is really cool to see.
But current. So if Icona were to make the upset over Nad, which I'm not as familiar with Nad, so I don't know how. I don't want to discredit Nad, right? Like I just genuinely just don't know how. I don't think I've watched them play.
They've been doing really well lately, getting consistent top 8 in regionals and all that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I don't think there's any like notable set record of him versus any Sheik, because Sheik is just not a common character outside of
right.
So.
But if in the universe that Icona takes it over Nad, which I genuinely like, I do believe that could go either way, right? I'm not as familiar with Nad, so that could go either way. In the event that Icona does take it over Nad there, right? Current record is 18-10 Red's favor, which is the projected, and he has won the last like 5 sets in a row.
Wow, that's actually really impressive. I didn't know that.
Yeah, but I mean, that matchup can take a long time, right? It's a lot of nickel and diming on Shizan, so it's a rough one. But I don't think that it is necessarily impossible. It's not out of the question, right? Because Icona does have 10 Predacious wins, right? And that Young Link is still there. Like he doesn't pull it out nearly as often, but it's still there. But as for the projected, which is Nad versus Red, I'm pulling up Red's set record against Mario just in general. It's gonna take a second if it wants to. Hold on.
I tried.
It's gonna take a second.
Yeah, Nad is positive on arguably Michigan's best Steve and Judd Air.
Okay.
So I thought that was interesting, and then he's even versus the other best Michigan Steve Raymond. So
Raymond Noodles, right?
Yeah.
Right. Let's see. Red has, Red's got a couple of decent. Oh wait, they've played before. They are 1-1 currently.
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't even know they played before.
I didn't either. Last time they played was 2023.
Oh, that's epic.
So, and Nad did take it the last time that they played, but Chicago does have, or used to have, its fair share of Marios, right? So that if people like Sam T, who doesn't really compete nearly as much anymore, but we have Dev, to shout out some other kind of hidden boss kinds of, right? Super Dan, for those of you who remember Super Dan. And then Shard, who's been coming to Chicago more recently. He's got a Mario that Red has played before, and I believe he took it over the Mario. There's also people like Cozy and Smithy, people that we... and also Eric, though. Eric, though, has a Mario that Red has taken at least once, I believe.
Yeah.
So Red's got a pretty decent, knowledge of that matchup. So it's not... not terribly out of the question, but also, right, Nad won the last time they played.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the two of them have only gotten better since then.
Yeah. I also think both these players are on the upswing because Predacious got, I think, second at that big chain attack on Monday, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Like I said, Nad has been consistently top 8 in regionals lately, so I don't want to bet against either of these players, but obviously one of them has to lose here. But if I had to just lean some way, I think I'd agree with you that Predacious probably makes it out of this pool. But we'll see. But
I think is there anybody that we forgot to talk about here in this?
I'll shout out Aaron really quick. He's been getting top 16s at regionals pretty consistently lately. I don't know if he'll beat Predacious. That's a pretty hard ask for him, but. And then, that's about it. I think Rio is interesting because he's a Chicago player yet you don't know of. So.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Rio, which is interesting because I feel like I know even the players that are not super familiar with. I feel like I know a little bit about everybody, but.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll just see what he does.
Okay. So Rio must have just moved to Chicago recently then. Because Rio's Super Major does read us North Carolina.
Okay.
They were ranked in North Carolina, number 14 in North Carolina back in 2023. It says their state is South Carolina, so they must have just moved over around here just recently.
Gotcha. That's interesting. All right, maybe he'll make some upsets. We'll see.
Yeah. I also want to very quick. I do want to talk about myself real quick. Me versus Zamo is gonna be good. That's it. That's all I want to talk about. Down and losers. Me and Zamo, we're locked in. We were just talking about it earlier.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, because you guys have to commentate like the next pool together, like the next wave together. Yeah, that's really funny. Actually.
Do we really commentate the next wave together? That's good. That's really good. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we do. That's awesome. All right, cool. But we can talk about the next wave now. Obviously, right? We can hop into B1.
Yeah, this is the Atata pool. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, this is the Atata pool. To be honest with you, I think that Atata just cruises his way to the top 8.
Yeah, I agree. He has so many favorable matchups on top of it.
Yeah, and I think that it is upsetting Atata if you're not a top 8 seed is a Herculean task, in my opinion. I think that is I think the trouble is going to start once we're in top 24, right? He does have to play Rob in order to make top 8. But even that, like, I do think that Atada, he is just unstoppable sometimes. And I think Atada beat Rob the last time they played, I want to say.
Yeah.
And I think, if I remember correctly, I think it was pretty bad.
Yeah. Michigan has a lot of Nest players,
Rob,
but even still, Rob Snake still struggled against Nest anyway.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be... I think Atada just makes a very smooth sailing up to top 8.
I agree. When I was like picturing how Atada could possibly lose my mind, I'm like, he needs to dodge Defoe specifically, and then we'll see. We'll see from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I can agree with that.
and Defoe is not in his path. I mean, Defoe might get there. We'll see, but
yeah. Let's see here. Where is Defoe?
He's in B2, which we'll get to him.
Okay. We'll get to it.
I hate that Echofire changed his tag. It makes it annoying to look up data. So yeah, Rob is 1-7 against Echofire, so that does not speak too highly of how he could do into Atada. Or
yeah.
The rest of this pool is interesting though, just in terms of potential matchups. We have Indiana versus Michigan here with Dr. Stank against Poison Jam. Which Duck Hunt is just an uncommon character in general, but when you play that kind of kitchen sink zoner against a Kazuya, that's always just gonna be really annoying for Kazuya.
Yeah, exactly.
So so we'll see how that one goes. Just based on how awkward the matchups is and how many Kazuyas Indiana has, I just feel like Dr. Sink will probably take that, but Poison Jam could also just do it. Pun is interesting. That's a Chicago rep in this lower quadrant, trying to go take up against Rob and maybe Loafer.
Yeah. I think Pun has been on the up and up recently. Definitely, maybe not as... I would put him in that kind of that Chicago gatekeeping range, just about. I think he has gotten very, very good very quickly these last couple of months. But I do think that Rob is quite the task for Toon Link.
Yeah.
I do think that is quite the task for Toon Link, to ask any Toon Link to take down. So
random aside,
not impossible, but
Pun also has to get through me, which I beat Trajan, the Iowa PR Toon Link last time I played a good Toon Link. So.
Oh wait, hold on. Oh no.
So we'll see on that. We'll see how actually focused I am for my bracket, because I'll probably be way more focused than running the tournament. But we'll see.
Also, that's right, Panson. He did. That was I mixed up Renegade and Rob. He did pack him up across 2 sets.
Yeah.
Renegade, who I don't remember Renegade is from, very solid Snake player. Made top 8 at the Chain Attack Regional back in March. So
that regional was super stacked.
It was super stacked. Texas, thank you, Panson.
Yeah, and then the other end of this quadrant is the Loafer Spectre, which I think the slow style of Nest play can be really good against Kazuya. If the Nest player is trying to interact more, I think Spectre tends to play this game, I think it'd be pretty troubling for him. So we'll see on this. Yeah. But Spectre, low-key, if he beats Loafer and he gets Nest Rob against Nest Snake against Rob. Sorry, it's always confusing to talk about him. Spectre could potentially be the one in this top 8, and then we get another Nest Ditto between Atada and Spectre, and it'd be fun.
Yeah. And then Rob will, if Spectre is able to take it over Loafer, Rob is going to have to fight a Nest to make it out, which, I mean, that matchup is not great.
Yeah.
that matchup is not great. So if Spectre's playing hot that day, that's not entirely out of the question.
Yeah.
Either.
I think this quadrant is very interesting. I could see Rob, Pun, or Spectre. Rob, Loafer, or Spectre making it out. This top one is just it's Atada all day. I do want to give a quick shout out to G-Man, Midoriya Jizuku. He beat Jaja at his last regional. Maybe he beats the 1 seed again.
W. Yeah, hey! Anybody who beats Jaja is a friend to me. So
yeah. So Jaja was not at this tournament because he has a collegiate thing going on. If anyone was wondering why he's not coming out. So.
Okay. Hey, he. That's Mr. Collegiate right there. that is Mr. Collegiate Cruz right there. So I don't blame him. Jaja, obviously, fantastic guy, right? Great to talk to. Great to be around. Hate casting him. Hate casting him. I'm so lucky that the last. I think the first time I ever had to cast Jaja, I managed to dodge it for years, was at Afterburner this year, and he got very swiftly 3-0'd by Dice, which is not how those sets usually go.
Yeah.
Like, at all.
As someone who's had to watch quite a few Dice Jaja sets, I can tell you those usually don't end up being swift 3-0s.
No, they do not. Dice isn't here either, I noticed.
Dice is going to Pressure Point Canada this weekend instead of my tournament.
Oh, Pressure Point is this weekend?
Yeah, it was in August last year, dude. I don't know why it's this weekend, but...
That's so strange. I didn't even realize. I've been getting pings recently, and I was like, oh, maybe I should go to Pressure Point again, because that wasn't too bad. I didn't realize it was this weekend. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know why they moved it up like 3 months from August last year. It's weird.
Yeah, it was interesting.
But yeah, that's like another reason thing I probably should have brought up earlier when talking about seeding. A lot of like Michigan's like heaviest hitters, like Jaja, Dice, Arcty, Rydra, like they aren't going to be here for like various reasons. Whether it's like moving back home because it's summer for like Rydra and Jaja, and or like Dice going to Canada, or Arcty on his world traveling mission right now.
Yeah, Arcty doing whatever Arcty is doing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's in Georgia right now for MomoCon, but I might be wrong on that.
Okay. MomoCon is next weekend.
Okay, and maybe I don't know what he's doing then. I just know he's not here.
But I think that is all she wrote for this pool.
Yeah, I'm just like looking if I want to shout like anyone interesting out. Yeah, that's fine. Like maybe Tuck and Esper, some like relevant Indiana players, make some noise in losers bracket or something. But we'll see.
We'll see.
On the BTO.
Yep.
This is the Layla pool, Layla is like the most interesting top seed to me because they're just like out of nowhere from New York invading Michigan.
Yeah,
they don't have too many regionals.
Layla is currently in town, in Chicago, and so I don't remember Layla's pronouns. I believe it's she/her. Okay, it might be she/her. Yeah. She/her. Okay, cool. Layla, she was just at Chain Attack this week. I think she signed up for another Chicago local earlier in the week. Very solid player, very, very, very good player. Obviously with that seeding as well. She did go Game 5 with Predacious on Monday. Red took that just barely, which, if anybody knows, like, Red has wins on Omega. Red has his infamous set count against Raven King. Any Joker that isn't Raven King is like light work for Red, right? So actually making Red have to, like, pushing Red to a Game 5 in that matchup specifically is very telling as a play to the Joker player.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
The reason why I put a lot of respect on Layla is because their recent, like, it's not a lot of data, but their recent data at ranked events is pretty impressive, with outperforming the seed at LMBM, Port Party 9, and getting second at Brooklyn Brawls 1000. So I gave them a lot of respect for this tournament. We'll see how they play. It's going to be very interesting regardless of the outcome, because just seeing players like this from random states come across the country is just always interesting. But I do think Layla will at the very least get to this qualifier spot with no issue. As for if she beats Dufo or Boku, I think that's going to be interesting, because Dufo and Boku are like both wild cards to me at this point, because they're both very inactive Michigan players who sparsely compete at regionals, and that's about it.
Right, yeah.
This set is also, just Dufo Boku is also just interesting because they've only played once ever, despite both being from Michigan, because they're just both so inactive. And then the winner of that playing Layla is interesting. I would personally bet on Defoe beating Boku, and then if Defoe beats Layla, he's going to be cooking because he would get some favorable matchups from there, which will in like Blue, and then maybe a tad on top 8. It's like super projecting how I think this bracket could go, but
yeah. But if we want to scroll down just a little bit further here into this second chunk of this final bracket or of this final pool, right? Like, I mean, Eclipse can go on a tear. like Eclipse is somebody that I just played him on Monday, and I don't know what happened. like he has a tendency, he can very quickly explode. He's got some very very decent wins. He's been getting a lot better recently as well. So like taking it over Blue is not out of the question. We don't have Blue is Game and Watch, if I'm not mistaken.
They primarily Game Watch nowadays.
Yeah. So like Blue like we don't have a lot of Game and Watches in Chicago, so that matchup might be a little rusty for him, but I mean, still, with the way that Eclipse's advantage state goes, if you have a strong advantage state against that character, it doesn't matter the moves. It doesn't really matter what Game and Watch tends to do to people if your advantage state is so strong. So,
I will say that. Yeah, I think Eclipse could definitely make the upset. So I will say that Blue tends to struggle against Dice a lot, and Dice is a different kind of Falcon. I think Dice is like the best Falcon in the Midwest.
Yeah.
So maybe like Blue can just skill gap Eclipse or something like that. But I think from a matchup perspective, I think Eclipse might be favored just on paper. And then before that, like Eclipse has to play against Hawk, who's Michigan's best Rob player. Which I do. Unfortunately, I do think. Unfortunately for Hawk, I do think Eclipse probably takes that, just because Hawk in general does not do that good against Falco.
And Eclipse has Chicago used to have a lot of Robs for a little bit, and on top of that, like Eclipse has a win on Aaron Baskin. He has. He's got another. I'm sure he has a Hereta win.
He's been doing pretty well against Patu, right?
Yes. Patu is our current Rob, which I believe he has quite a few wins on him as well. So very proficient in the Rob matchup.
Yeah, I think Eclipse could make it out. I think Blue has just been very steady lately, though. Their results have been really impressive. Consistent top 3s in regionals and all that. So it speaks to like why they are so highly seeded here. And then, like, I don't know if you see, like, any interesting names here. Brari, former Indiana PR guy. Maybe he'll make some noise.
I will say, Mr. I am gonna... I don't know if you notice a pattern here, but all the people I'm driving with, I've glazed a little bit. Typical. A buddy of mine coming up from Georgia for the week decided to hop in the tournament with us. He has been down in Georgia, kind of very strong down there. I don't have all of his wins like off the top of my head. I'm pulling him up right now. But he is very funny to me because there have been a couple of times where we'll go to a regional and he's like, yeah, I'm probably not going to do it well, and then he'll like beat the number 1 seed like just randomly. Like sometimes he will just randomly pop off. So it's like it's possible against Hawk, right? It's going to be quite the task. I will say it's going to be quite the task, but I wouldn't count him out necessarily. He's very powerful, very strong competitor. So
yeah, I remember like looking at some of his results for seeding. It didn't look too bad, but Michigan has like a lot of good depth for this tournament, so I just put him in that same tier as those guys. I will say, just really quick, in respect to Hawk got second at this event last year at Revel World 200. Now, granted, Revel 200 was not as stacked as Revel Gear 5 is, but maybe Hawk will have something like that, that return, like that, some of that success will come back to him for this tournament from last year.
Hawk is never someone to sleep on. Very, very strong. I remember, I think I casted him at an Afterburner. It was either last year or this year, one of the two, and just watching him play was just beautiful. Just very, very, very deep understanding of his character. So that's definitely something that we can't sleep on, right? Anybody who is in the top 32 are people that we can't sleep on, but especially these higher seeds, just like in that like 9 to 16 range. I think Hawk might be a little bit lower than that. I think he's 21, right?
Yeah. Hawk has also been pretty inactive lately, which is again why he's a lower seeded than maybe you'd expect him to be. This is the inactivity pool between Defoe, Boku, and Hawk. I didn't really realize that, but
yeah, very. Is there anybody else that we're looking at here in this last pool?
I think I'm good to move on.
Yeah,
there's a couple other Chicago depth players if you want to like shout some of these guys out, but
well, let's see here. Let me scroll down here. I'm a bad Chicago player. I do not recognize any Chicago players.
I saw someone email in Bud War. I think they're both from Chicago, but
I do not recognize Bud War.
Okay, then we can just move on to Top Cut. We're not going to talk about losers for Top Cut because who knows how that'll go.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that'll be a bloodbath.
In terms of like projected top 8 matches, I think you and I both safely agreed that Tata's going to beat this. Regardless if this is Rob, Spectre, or Loafer, Tata feels pretty safe to get in the top 8.
Yes. I think that no matter who ends up in that spot against Tata, I think that he makes it out to top 8 very, very easily.
Yeah. And then this second one, this is Layla versus Blue Blue, but this is also like maybe it's Defoe or Boku against Blue Blue, or Layla versus Eclipse, or Layla versus Hawk.
Right.
Yeah. That's a very interesting quadrant because it's just so matchup dependent. Because if Defoe makes it to the spot, I think he beats Blue Blue because he's beaten a lot. Because Defoe usually beats Blue Blue.
Right.
Or this is like the Defoe against Hawk. Hawk usually beats Defoe. Or if this is Layla versus Blue Blue, Joker on Game Watch is very good for Joker on paper. So, very interesting top 8 qualifier match there that can go to multiple different players. So,
yeah. I also want to point out here, BB Beans versus Echo Fire. I don't remember exactly what we said about the sets leading up to that.
this was like the Jewish Lightning BB Beans versus Echo Fire TM4.
I think that we
this could be one power.
And then Echo Fire, that could be one power. That could be Zuri. That I think that BB Beans though, as long as he's kind of playing, at a high caliber that we know he can, right? I think that BB Beans makes that pretty cleanly into that top 24 spot. But who ends up being there is super up in the air in my opinion, and I think that has a very large deciding factor on who makes that top 8.
Yeah, for sure. That's interesting because it's like I'm more scared of Beans losing in pools to like Drewish than I think Beans would like lose to like Zuri or something or one power. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's super fair. Yeah, that's super fair.
And then this last slot is very interesting also between
that last slot is super up in the air. I'm going to be honest with you.
Like this could be suspect Monum.
Combination of players.
Yeah.
We could end up with a Chicago Classic in that slot being Monum versus Predacious, right? We can end up with as projected Suspect versus Predacious. We could end up in a
it could be Suspect
really
Nad
awkward spot. Huh?
This could be Suspect Nad from Michigan.
It could be Suspect Nad. It's not out of the question for this to be Suspect Icona either, which would be a insane set to happen. This could also end up being Monum Icona. It could go genuinely any way in that specific quadrant. I think I think D is just very, very up in the air. I genuinely don't know who's going to end up there, and depending on who ends up there, I don't know who's going to end up in that top 8 slot.
I think this is the top 8 slot, which I am the most... I want to put faith in my boy Suspect, because this is my guy, and he won his event last year.
Right.
But just based on, like, the projected matches, and he has to play, he has to play against Monum, who he lost to before, and then Radacious, which is just, Suspect does not have the greatest track record against Steve.
Right, yeah, and have they played before? Do you know?
Suspect Radacious? I don't think so.
Let me double check.
No, they played once. It was 3 years ago at a Michigan event, and Radacious won that.
Okay, well, it could be the rematch of the century. It could go genuinely anyway. That second or that fourth top 8 slot, for winner's side, that final top 8 winner's side slot could genuinely go anyway. I think that out of any set, right? I think that the ones leading up to that are going to be the ones to watch, and then that set is going to be the biggest one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I agree. That'll be very interesting. And then, like I said, we're not going to try and talk about losers here because who the hell knows
It's
who's
a bloodbath
down
there.
here.
I have no idea what's going on down there. That could go anyway at all.
Yeah, I'm just pretty confident that Atada and Beans probably won't be in losers. So.
Yes, I'm very confident that Atada and Beans are going to make it into their top 8s. If Beans makes it to top 24, I think he very easily can make it into the top 8. I think that there is no universe where Atada doesn't make top 8 here. Winner's side. Like,
yeah.
I just don't think it's
not
possible.
only is he the 1 seed and the best player here, but he has a really good path just based off matchups.
Just really good path. Yeah. So, I think that top 4, the top 2 will be pretty as predicted, but everything after that, I think, is just super up in the air.
Yeah, I could see multitude of different players being in these other two slots. So,
yeah.
And then I think we're gonna bring it back to the top 32 seeding overall here. After looking through all the pools, Excelsior, is there someone that you think is gonna go on a run and you want to lock in this guy's making top 8, either make a huge run or get top 8 or something on those lines?
That I wouldn't be able to tell you. I think that the people that I believe could make really good runs, who are not currently projected to make top 8, are in that kind of hell zone to make that top 8 fourth slot winner side, right? I think that due to just how unpredictable that pool B1 is, I think that that makes it hard for me to predict anybody to go on a crazy run.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
I don't think it's out of the question to see somebody like One Power make top 8. I don't think it's out of the question to see Drewish or Dr. Stank to make top 8. I think that both of those, I think that if I'm taking everything into consideration, I think the 3 of them are going to be some really important ones to look out for. But I'm keeping my eye on B1. I'm keeping my eye on B1 just in general. That's going to be an insane pool to watch.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I talked about it earlier, but I'm going to roll with Defoe here. I think Defoe is set up to go on a tear here. I think he'll beat Boku. I believe in him to beat Layla because Defoe beats Michigan's best Joker, Kayani, quite a lot. Now again, the gap between Layla and Kayani is probably quite a bit, but I believe in Defoe to get that done. And then I think he'll beat Blue Boo. If our Eclipse, or whoever ends up being in that top 8 qualifier slot. So,
yeah.
And then if he gets to winner semis against Atada, that's when things get really interesting for the bracket.
Yeah.
As for overall, are you pretty safe? Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I kind of said that he believes that Rob beat Atada the last time they played.
I don't
at Midwest Battleground last year.
I thought Rob beat everyone that wasn't Atada there, but maybe I'm wrong.
We can pull it up real quick. You're on Suspect.
Oh, he is 1-0 on Atada. Okay, that's actually interesting.
Oh, interesting. So maybe that matchup doesn't go the way that we thought it would. Yeah. When was this? It's not.
This was last year.
This was last year? Okay. Yeah, Super Major. I love Super Major. I have a love-hate relationship with Super Major. Yeah, that's very... Game 5, too.
That's very interesting.
Interesting.
I mean, Rob has so much experience in this matchup because Ness is such a common character in Michigan.
Right.
So maybe he will take that. Maybe I'm sleeping on. I'm sleeping on.
Yeah, maybe we were a little too hasty on the Rob Atada set. So, but I do know that to give it to a little bit of Chicago bias, right? Atada is definitely someone, he doesn't seem it, but when he takes a loss, he comes back with a vengeance. That is somebody who he can definitely be.
Yeah, I had Atada DMing.
2 wins.
Yeah, I had Atada DMing me several times about seeding, and I'm just and now looking at this, is he circling him versus Rob? That's a matchup he's gonna nail down for this because it's gonna get revenge for last time.
Right.
That's interesting. That's a fun narrative. But yeah, overall, I think it'll be pretty competitive between Michigan, Chicago, and I think Indiana will have their moments too.
Yeah.
overall, who do you think wins which region do you think comes out on top in terms of like overall performance and then the winner?
Overall performance, I not even to be too biased, I do think that Chicago just has so many heavy hitters, especially because that B1 pool is so, I'll say Chicago favored, so to speak, right? That I believe that a lot of Chicago players end up playing in losers for top 8, but if any one of them makes that upset in B1, all of a sudden we have the potential of 3 different Chicago players in top 8.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm not going to put too much stock on the projected top 24 bracket, but the only Chicago matchup that's projected to happen is Eclipse Radacious for top 8, which we'll see how true that ends up being, but...
We'll see how that ends up being, but then the projected is Rob 1 Power for top 8 as well, right? And if 1 Power can make it to just right before that slot, we could see, 1 Power into top 8 loser side, and then another Chicago player on that loser side, and then we have 2 Chicagos in the top. You know what I mean? Like it is so up in the air right now, just because of B1. B1 is crazy.
Yeah. I'm a little nervous as we winners for the bracket. I love Suspect, but I don't think he has the greatest path to get there. And then I think Blue Boo also might maybe not in pools. I think if he's playing against Defoe or Layla for the top 8 slot, I don't know if they're gonna win that. So there's a very real scenario where Michigan doesn't have any top 8 winners, any players in top 8 winners. And then we'll see how it plays out in losers. I want to put faith in Michigan here, but I think it'll be fun. Again, I'm super just excited in general because Michigan does not have too many events like this, whereas there's this much crossplay between different states and this many invaders. Which is again huge thank you to you and the LA Chicago guys and the Indiana people for making this happen and getting so many guys out there. It's just overall an exciting event for us. At least for us. I know that in Chicago you guys have invaders all the time, so maybe it's not as special, but
we absolutely love. I love coming out to your events. I've made that super clear. Anytime you need me at an event, I will find a way to get there because I love coming and I love bringing people with me for these events. So I will always bring Chicago with me, as many as I can at the very least, right? But I do think this is probably the highest concentration outside of when Big House was still around of Chicago pulling up to Michigan. I want to say it's a very high concentration, and I think that we've got quite the bracket on our hands.
Yeah, despite Sir Dank dropping, and I love Sir Dank, I'm so excited for all the Chicago people to make it out.
It's a shame that Dank couldn't make it. Dank would have thrown a huge wild card into this whole.
I will say that if between Dank and Atada, Michigan would have had no chance. I'm sorry, but. Without Dank, I think things would get a lot more interesting on Michigan side of things. But
on the Michigan side of things, I'm sure. Yeah.
But in any case, very, very excited as I've already said multiple times. We'll see how it goes. For people asking in chat, it's all best of 5. It's all best of 5 singles. If you don't get top 24, you can be an amateur bracket. It's the standard MIC stage list, which is on the StartGG page. If you have any other questions, just hit up my line. So.
Lilac, you have the chance right now to do the right thing and ban Steve's from planking right here on this stream. And I suggest that you do it, because if you don't, I will be planking Samo in my set. 100%.
I'm just gonna let it rock. So if you want to plank, go for it, Excelsior.
Zamo, you're cooked. I'm sorry. But thank you so much for having me on the stream.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for coming on, Excelsior. I always have a lot of fun talking to you. So.
I always have a great time playing to your events. So.
Yeah. And again, Excelsior will be on the mic tomorrow, so you'll be able to hear more of his beautiful, beautiful voice on the main stream.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
Do you have any?
I've been able to cast an event.
Yeah. Do you have any shout outs you want to do before I cut stream?
Follow me on Twitter at Excelsior Speaks. That's all I got.
All right. Thank you guys for watching the stream. Follow Excelsior on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. Follow Revel events on Twitter. I'll see you guys tomorrow. If you guys see me at the event tomorrow, which you guys definitely will, feel free to talk to me. I love talking to people about not just this game, but event in general, just random stuff. So, see you guys then.